Welcome everybody out to the City Council meeting for December the 8th, 2015. Want to start by calling the meeting to order. We'll do roll call vote.
Honorable Mayor Bilbrey.
Present.
Honorable Vice Mayor Dyer.
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Norris.
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Green.
Present.
Honorable Councilman Hurd.
Present. Brother Morrison, Keith Morrison, will you do our invocation for us?
Bow with us. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings of life, Lord. We pray that you would be with the Janetta Hayes family tonight, Lord, as they go through this loss and this holiday season. Pray that you would just reach down and put your hands of comfort around them, Lord, and lift them up. They would lean on each other and move forward, Lord, and remember that she's went on to a better resting place, Lord. We ask your guidance upon this council, that they continue to move this city in a positive direction. They would keep the community in their concerns. We pray for those, Lord, that are less fortunate this holiday season, that you would help them. It's in your name we ask these things. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item is consider approval of the agenda as presented. I think everybody's had a chance to see that. Is there any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'll propose that we approve the agenda with the exception of item number 10 to be tabled at this time until next council meeting.
Okay. Got it. All right.
I'll propose we approve the agenda with the tabling of item number 10.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Roll call vote.
Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Okay. Consider approval of the minutes of the council meeting held on November the 10th, 2015. I think everybody's had a chance to look at that. Is there any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Roll call vote.
Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Next item, consider approval to appoint Bill Benson to the BZA for terms expiring October of 2018. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second. Roll call vote.
Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer.
No.
Honorable Norris.
No.
Honorable Green.
No.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Okay, motion fails. Consider approval to appoint Roger Williams to the BZA for terms expiring October 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion second on
Mayor-
the floor.
Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer.
No.
Honorable Norris.
No.
Honorable Green.
No.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Okay, motion fails. Consider approval to suspend the reading of ordinance 603-15, 604-15, 605-15, and 606-15. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Consider approval to declare 2006 Crown Vic Patrol Car VIN number 2FAFP71W86X108660 as surplus. Keith, you want to speak to that?
This is a 2006 Crown Victoria. It's one of the cars we bought several years ago. Paint's peeling off, the mileage is getting high, and we need to get rid of it. One, if not two, of the cars from last month's being held on to due to the car wreck we had last week.
Okay. That being said, do I have a motion?
Motion.
And motion and second on the floor. Roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbrey.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Consider approval to declare 2007 Chevrolet Impala with a VIN number of 2G1WB58K0793333637 as surplus. Keith?
This is the gray Impala that was driven by Detective Medlin. The car has approximately 154,000 miles on it, needs a windshield and tires, and we wish to surplus it. We're going to keep the 2006 black Chevrolet Impala that has less miles and use it as a backup car.
Okay. That being said, is there any discussion? Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
And a second on the floor. A roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbert,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Yes. Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Consider approval, first reading ordinance 603-15, amending the zoning ordinance regarding membership of BZA. Keith, you'd like to speak to that?
This is an ordinance spelling out the creation of membership of the Board of Zoning Appeals. It says the Board of Zoning Appeals is hereby established in accordance with Section 13.7.205 of the Tennessee Code annotated. A quorum of the Algood Board of Zoning Appeals must be present to conduct official board business. The membership of this board shall total 5 members composed of 5 citizen members as selected and appointed by the legislative body. All citizen members shall be appointed for 3-year terms with terms of 1 or 2 members expiring each year. The city building inspector and city administrator shall serve as an advisory member of the board with no voting rights. Any vacancy in an appointed membership shall be filled for the unexpired term by the legislative body, who shall also have the authority to remove any citizen member at its pleasure.
Okay, any discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion?
Second.
Motion second on the floor. Roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbert,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Yes. Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Okay. Next item is consider approval first reading ordinance 604-15 to change the zoning classification of approximately 1.7 acres located on Elm Street from an R1 low-density residential district to a CA general commercial district. Keith, you would like to?
This was a request submitted to the Planning Commission last month that this property on Elm Street that also goes back to Joy Lane be moved from R1 to CA. It was sent on by the Planning Commission with a positive recommendation. And I believe the developer's here if you all have questions.
Would you like to speak to that? Or who is the developer?
Mr. Davidson, and I'm not sure who the gentleman with you is.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, what we're wanting to do is to go down, it's Elm Street that I think there's a main road, Joy comes in the back. We've talked to the engineers, we've talked to the planner, and we're looking at putting in some more so one-story type homes, trying to focus on older people. I would like to have it fixed to where I've only got a step to get up into the house with some wider doors. We're looking for, I think about 16 units, was it? Something like that, and have it to where we're not gonna have it just for old people. We'll lease or rent to anybody that's wanting it. But in this area, there's a shortage for things that don't have steps. I get phone calls from time to time. I'm a builder as well. People that are in wheelchairs, and there are no houses being built for people that's in wheelchairs. And I really hadn't thought much about that, but in the last 2 or 3 years, I've had a couple of phone calls. People wanting to know if I knew of anything, and that's kind of what's got this started. In the process of this, Joy Lane comes into the back of this property. We bought this property at auction, and that was one of the highlights that I saw, that I had another access, thinking that we could make an in and out. After lots of thinking and going through this, we pretty much decided, Joy's a right of way. There's the developer, when he done this subdivision 30, 40 years ago, whatever it was, had left it as a right of way. And it dead ends right in this property. And to me, that was okay, we got 2 ways in, it'll save me from having to build such a big road. And after looking at it, and I think there's been some negativeness, just to be real honest, about using Joy. And got to talking to my partner, and he's got a little more wisdom than I got on some things. He's got some years on me. And we kind of feel like that if we open that road to where it just accesses us, that could be a good cut through for people if somebody wanted to use it for a cut through. So what we're looking at doing is just doing away with that access. That access would come down to our property and be done away with, as in a berm, as in trees, as in something, to where it will just no longer be in play. The engineer's got a drawing up, and it shows kind of how we're looking at rolling it up. As y'all well know, you gotta have a certain amount of footage for parking and per unit and all this, and he's got all that figured out. That's what we pay him to do. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, but that's about all I know to tell you.
Will the citizens have any privacy that already live there on there? And I think a few of them are concerned about these property being.
We have talked about, and I mean, this is preliminary, and I have to, it costs money to get these engineers to make stuff come together. We've talked about fencing the place. We've actually talked about gating it, if it's legal, if it's possible, as in they'll have to have a key code to even get in the property, period. Short of, landscaping, trees, whatever, something like that, I don't wanna stand here and tell you I'm gonna put, $30,000 worth of fence around the place. But in consideration for those around, I really feel like we're making an improvement for what's going on. And we're not out to hurt anybody, just out to make it, it's an investment, and it's trying to, make things work, and a few years later, collect some money. That answered your question?
Well, yeah, it does. And I like the idea of fact that the wheelchair accessible, because there is a need, and my brother's in a wheelchair, but I also want to keep in consideration the people who live around there too.
Right.
Make sure.
Right, and that's plenty understandable. When you go full-blown ADA wheelchair, it's expensive. And y'all know from building this building, I'm sure there's lots of things involved to make it accessible. But keeping in mind, there's lots of other things besides wheelchairs now that people have to use for assistance to get from point A to point B. And keeping a design in mind to focus, this property does have a role to it. And the front of it and the first part of it, I don't think we'll have a bit of problem keeping grade like I want to keep it, to where I don't have steps to get up through. As we get toward the back, we may have to have some that's got steps. It'll have to all be shot and all that figured out. But that's, once again, why we pay them boys to do that.
Is there any citizens that wants to say anything?
I think everything that's joined residential around there, if this gets approved to commercial, then I believe in the code, there is a requirement for a buffer, a landscape buffer. I'll have to look at the code, but for the residential zone, between the commercial and residential zone. If we get zone commercial and we build in there, then there has to be I think there's gonna have to be a landscape buffer in between what they build and residential zone lots.
Fence and or?
Well, I don't know exactly how that reads in the code. I'd have to look it up, but I think it's a landscape, I know in the city of Cookeville, it's a visibility thing. You has to have shrubs or something where it's like 80% or 90% visibility or non-visibility.
I know the neighbors there, if you put a real nice fence there, and that was guaranteed, I know they'd probably maybe be happy to have that, because it gives them more privacy.
But yeah, and I think we'll take that, I think they'll take that into consideration, but we hadn't gotten that far in the design, because if y'all knock it down, then he don't wanna invest a bunch of money into getting some designs and putting a whole lot of time and effort into designing this thing before we know we can do it,
And that's commercial property that comes in on the other side.
Yeah,
already.
it's commercial property on 10th Street there, already adjoining this property. So they probably wouldn't require a buffer between this new lot and what's currently being used as residential, but is zone commercial, fronting 10th Street there.
And part part of the reason I brought that up, and I need to relook at that plat. But I think some of the things that are going down, if you're on Elm, looking back down this property, that left side of that line is a growed up fence road. I mean, there's your buffer, you can't see, it doesn't look real nice. And the thoughts already went through about, you know, reckon if it's over on us, we'll clean it off. We'll get rid of that nasty down, right now it's a mess. So, I haven't been over there prowling around that edge, hadn't talked to anybody who owns that property over on that side, but it's a grown up mess on the left side of the property already. On the right side, there are some, 2 or 3 residents, I think, down the right side till you get down there to Joel.
I got a couple of things.
Okay, go ahead.
Water retention. You're talking about a low area, okay? We've got issues behind you on Williams Square and Williams Circle. So that's my first concern. Second concern is added traffic to Elm Street, okay? And because you've already said you've pretty much kicked out the idea of using Joy Lane. Just those 2 items. Can you touch on those real quick, please?
I haven't studied the water problem that's down in there, but I know there's lots of property down in that lower area.
Yes, sir.
That just lays low.
It does.
And I don't know what kind of storm drainage the city's got down through there. I know there's a sewer that runs along the line back there that was put there for this area. As far as storm drainage, that's something else that we turn back over to the engineers to where what we can do with our gutter water and what water lands.
Right.
Whatever the code is going to, allow us to do. We're not trying to flood in. We're not trying to hurt anybody. Oh yeah, water is always an issue. And what we can, you spread it. You spread it out the best you can instead of focusing it down in one end. In the very back of the property, I don't know who owns it, but there's a building that comes off of Main over there, and I've seen water over in behind. That's just beyond our property as well. There's a little wooded area on down in there.
Right.
How bad it gets or whatever, I'm not sure. Honestly and truly, with what I know about the area, I don't think it's that terrible, especially when I do compare to see what's going on in some other places and what they're doing with their water. That doesn't fix our problem, but we're not trying to wash anybody out either. I'm pretty sure down where Joy hits, down that right line, I think there's a ditch. I don't know if there's a pipe in it or not. There's a watered out ditch and a big old stump and some trees that run down that corner. And where that water's going when it leaves me, I'm not real sure.
Okay.
I'm not real sure about that.
Well, I'm familiar with the place you're talking about, so, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. As far as sewer goes, there is we have a right-of-way access to our sewer on Joy, is that correct, Victor?
Yes.
Okay. Were you gonna say something, sir? I'm sorry.
I'm not the engineer, I'm just the surveyor, so,
Right.
I may be speaking over my head, but, whenever he does develop this part of the engineering package, you have to hold that water for that storm water for a period, for a specific storm.
You've got to have a
rainfall.
retention in
Yeah, he's
place.
gonna have a retention enough he'll have to.
Yeah.
He'll have to get that approved from the city.
So on other commercial property, they have us, the engineers have us a place to take all that stuff and let it lay and absorb. We've invested what we've invested to get this up, was we kind of took out with a different thought in hand. And, Joy, and it was hearsay, I hadn't talked to anybody, but there were some people that wasn't thrilled about us, going to be having any traffic at all on that little dead end that ties on to me. And I was disappointed, because really, when I bought it, I thought, that'll save a big long road and all this. So when we looked at that wasn't a smart thing to do. That's kind of why we're focusing around and decided to pay these guys to tell us what to do.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I also have a petition of 18 different names. Is any of the folks here that has signed this? Would you like to speak?
My name is Shauna Whitefield. I've lived there 43 years. Elm Street is loaded with traffic. and we don't need no more traffic. We don't want duplexes in there. There's other big apartment buildings in this town that could have been considered for handicap as well as anybody else. I understand what Mr. Davison is saying, but as a citizen on that street, I do not want to look at that every day of my life, the rest of my life that I've got to live there. As far as water going down in Joy Lane, there is a problem with that water drainage down through there. And that water does hold water. That land does hold water. And we get enough traffic from the school and the rest home. I mean, we get speeders, there's nowhere to go on Elm Street. Unless somebody wants to invest money and widen it, and then you're gonna take part of our yards. But I'm the one that got out and got the petition signed, and there's other people that's here tonight that's against it. I'm not the only one. We just don't want it in our neighborhood. We want something different.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak on that?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple of words.
Okay.
What would possess somebody to buy a residential lot and plan on building apartments? Unless they know they can get it changed, which I don't like to think of. But everybody in the neighborhood I've talked to, and I've talked to most of them down through there, none of them are in favor of it. And the water problem, all we've got is a ditch down through there. Most of the time I can't even mow because of the water in the ditch. The lower end of this property is swampy. You can't even get in there in the spring without getting stuck. They would have to build that up, or retention pond or something, because otherwise it's gonna run all the water right over on the neighbor that's below me, the school teacher, and flood their property. And originally, zoning laws were established to keep residential areas residential and business business. And that's all this is a business, somebody to make a lot of money. These people in the neighborhood, some of them, it's their life savings. And they care about how their property looks. Recently, the field in back of me, the grass was about 4 feet high. I had to contact Megan Watson to make them mow it. It was a fire hazard. It was dry grass, about 4 feet high. If somebody had flipped a cigarette and the wind been blowing, we might have lost the house. I believe that residential areas ought to stay residential because they were zoned that way for a purpose, and business is business. I'm Charles Stone. I live at 166 Joy Lane, and this property joins me in back. As far as how it's going to affect me, I'm 83 years old. I'm not going to live that much longer anyway, but I care about Algood in the neighborhood, and these people take pride in their property.
Is there any other discussion? Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm Sue Eldridge. I live at 178 Elm Street. I support everything that Shauna and Mr. Stone has just said. We have a wonderful neighborhood. We've had it for years. I've lived there 50-something years now. And we'd like to keep it. Now, we're not against the building. It's just the type of buildings that we do not want. We don't have streets. We do fine with the ambulances, everybody knows. They come down there, but if we get any more input in there, we won't. And we would like to keep it as close to the way it is now as it can be. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Due to a prior relationship with one of the developers, I must abstain from this vote. Do we have a motion or anything?
I'll make a motion.
Your motion is to accept?
Thought we was gonna vote on
Yeah, what is your motion to approve?
it, to vote on it.
Your
Vote
motion,
yes or
your-
no.
your motion must be an approval to
Approval
consider this.
or against?
I'm
Is it-
against it.
You're, okay, that's what I was getting at. Okay, we have a motion on the floor, against. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor, second, roll call vote,
Mayor Bilbrey,
abstain?
Vice Mayor Dyer,
No.
Honorable Norris. Nope. Honorable Green,
No.
Honorable Hurd.
No.
Okay. Consider approval of first reading ordinance 605-15 to change the zoning classification of approximately 9.2 acres located on Burton Branch Road to R1 Low Density Residential District to an I1 Light Industrial District. Would you like to speak to that?
This is, again, changing from R1 to I1 Light Industrial. Mr. Williams is here representing the property. He is the owner. All of the other property around this is already I1. There's just this single strip of R1 low-density residential that runs through the middle of this. And Mr. Williams is here if you have questions.
Would you like to speak, Mr. Williams?
All this is housekeeping, I'm just changing it over to commercial, light industrial, so y'all can charge you more taxes. I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience opposing this? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion,
Motion to, as written, correct?
as
Forward.
written.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Yes. Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Next item, consider approval, first reading ordinance 606-15 to change the zoning classification of approximately .83 acres located on First Avenue from an R1 low-density residential district to an R3 high-density residential district. Keith, you'd like to speak to that?
This is property, I believe, owned by Ray Ware. This property is out on First Avenue. It is already bordered by R3 property in the back and on the side, First Avenue on the front, and Upper Cumberland Electric has a substation on the other side of it, and it is only .83 acres.
Okay.
I believe there's a representative here.
We developed Phillips Bend subdivision probably 5 years ago. At the time, I approached the homeowner of the property we're talking about today about buying it and making it a part of Phillips Bend at the time. She decided not to. Things changed in her family, so we bought the property about 2 months ago, and we just want to make an addition to the Phillips Bend subdivision, so it'll be very similar to what I have there. We currently own, I think, 9 lots still in Phillips Bend, so it'd just be an addition to it.
Okay. Any discussion? Anyone in the audience oppose or like to speak on that? Okay. All right, that being said, do I have a motion
Motion.
to accept?
Second.
Motion to accept and second. Roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Yes. Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is consider approval.
Table 10. You on 11?
No, I'm on 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Consider approval of the cemetery seal repair in the amount of, we got the bid tabulations there as well. Keith, you like to speak to that?
You all had requested that I call and ask the companies about this. You will need to specify who the awarded bid is to and then the amount of. I called Bennett's Paving today. They said it was getting too cold. He would recommend you wait till spring. He was only going to fill the biggest crack and couldn't remember what the linear foot of the cracks was totaling. And he was not going to get every little one, he said, just the big ones. McLeod's estimated 24,940 square feet of seal coat. He said he was counting on 1,675 lineal feet of crack fill, and he included the corner patches with the price at no extra charge.
Okay.
So if you went with 1,675 lineal feet of crack, if you assume that's what Bennett's replaced, That's $1,256 added onto his bid, which brings his total bid to $4,331. Now, that's assuming he comes up with that lineal foot of crack fill. So that's just an estimate. So the Bennett paving bid is $3,075 plus 75 cents per linear foot for cracks. McLeod's is all-inclusive bid of $3,925. Edmonds Paving is an all-inclusive bid of $5,200.
So if we do consider the cracks, Bennett's paving would come up to what?
If you consider, if he fills 1,675 lineal feet of crack, he will come out to a total bid of $4,331.25.
Okay.
Keith, did McLeod say that they would do this right away, or are they gonna
He
wait
said
too?
he didn't say anything about waiting, so
Okay.
Bennett's just said he recommended we wait because the colder weather was coming in, so.
Discussion, motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept McLeod's asphalt for $3,925.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion second on the floor. Roll call vote?
Mayor Bilbrey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Yes. Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Abstain.
That brings us to our city administrator's report.
The budget numbers comparative is 41.66% for the month. General fund revenues are at 37.95%. General fund expenses at 34.66%. The water sewer revenues are at 44.09%, and water sewer expense is at 29.69%. The angel tree for Christmas for Kids is currently at Walmart. You can pick up an angel and bring a wrapped present back to City Hall for needy kids in Algood that either live in Algood or attend an Algood school. I'd like to say thanks to Victor Jones and the Public Works crew for all the hard work on the Christmas tree at the post office. It looked really good. I appreciate the police department and all their parade coverage. And also would like to say congratulations to the fire department for their work with MDA this year to raise a little over $1,300. And so we appreciate all their efforts. Department heads, did you have anything?
Okay. Brings us to the hearing of citizens and their delegations. If you have a comment, please approach the podium, directing your comments to the chair.
And I'd like to congratulate Ms. Green and Ms. Norris for their efforts in continuing their wonderful support and duties to the parade.
Thank you.
This is my first meeting and maybe my last, but I would like to make a suggestion for you to invest in an acoustic system, because I'm sitting in the second row and I can hardly hear what you're saying, and I'm sure a lot of other people are the same way.
Okay. Any more? If not,
Motion to adjourn.
whoa,
I'm sorry.
wait a minute.
Didn't see you, sir.
Yeah, last month, Mr. Judd asked some questions about the motorcycles, and I thought they were free. Am I understood that right?
Chief?
Okay, well, have they had any work made on them or anything? And how much was that? I think it's about $4,000 for one, and about $3,000, almost $4,000 for another. That's $8,000. We got new tires, that's another $1,000. How many people did we have go to school? We're having more. I think what the paper said was only going to use it for ceremonies and parades. I see them being used for patrolling and everything else. If it's free, it's not free if you're spending money for it. We've got 15 cars. Where are they kept?
The cars?
No, we got 15 cars on the road.
Okay.
Where are the motorcycles kept? Say again? Down there? Okay. That's good. So I guess what I'm getting at is they wasn't free. And we're short on people. I think we're running in overtime. We're having to use comp time. We sent two people off to school. We're gonna send more people off to go to school to get certified. I have a problem with what we're using them for and whether we need them. We've got sidewalks we need fixed, y'all. $10,000 would have went a long ways. I see little old ladies and this one guy on the little hovercraft or whatever it is, out in the middle of the road going down Main Street. And we didn't build, how much, we had $21,000 or something like that for sidewalks. How many have we done this year?
We've done 2 sidewalks at school, right?
At the school.
Mm.
Guys, we got places we need to spend the money more than motorcycles. It's big boys' toys. I like motorcycles. I've probably ridden 30,000, 40,000 miles on one. But we've got other things. And nothing against it, but well, yes, I'm against it. Nothing against the idea, but it's something we don't have to have right now. We gave up the Humvees. The Humvees could at least scoop snow off the road when it snowed. But these are only fair weather things. That's all. Thank you.
Chief, you want to speak to that? Okay.
I'm here, Billy.
Mm.
Algood Action Committee. I have a question for you, Mr. Bilbrey. When did the city of Algood stop keeping minutes at the work sessions?
Ms. Larson or Keith Morrison?
We've never kept minutes at work session.
Minutes have never been kept at work sessions.
Okay.
I mean, a written, we've never approved minutes and had them.
Never kept minutes? Not even when, before this ever administration came in, no one ever kept minutes at work session?
Not that we're
Well,
aware of.
did you know you were supposed to? Do you know you were supposed to?
Okay, to direct it to me.
Okay, all right.
As mayor, I didn't know it, that we
We
were
had
supposed to do
asked
that.
that quick, we'd asked for some minutes from the work session, and the letter said the city does not maintain minutes or audio for the work session. So we asked Ms. Butterworth from Open Records to give us a decision about that or a reading about that. And she says if you're deliberating, if you're meeting, and you're deliberating, you're talking things over, you must keep records.
Deliberating means if you're making a vote.
No, it doesn't. No. Deliberating.
Do you have that in writing from?
Yes, I
from
do.
the-
I have it in writing. Deliberating means, from Webster's dictionary, the act of deliberating, a discussion and consideration by a group of persons for or against a measure. That's what deliberating means. And I have that. It's an email from Ms. Butterworth, and I'll give that to you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, in other words, if Keith comes into a meeting, and he sits down and he says, here are your packets, these are the things we're going to work on, we're gonna meet with at our council meeting, we're gonna have a vote and we're gonna decide on it, then you don't have to keep minutes if you're not gonna talk about and deliberate about it. If he just gives you the information, that's as far as it goes. You don't have to keep minutes, but you do have to keep minutes.
Okay.
I received that email, Mayor, and I think you were CC'd on that email as well from Ms. Butterworth.
Okay,
She copied you on it.
Yes.
Okay.
I will make contact with her tomorrow.
thank you. Thank you. Ms. Beck, we'll look into this and we'll have you an answer
Yeah,
next
have an
meeting.
answer for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because what it is since you've been mayor, we used to have podcasts, and we could look the minutes, we could look up the meetings of the business meeting, and we could look up this on podcast. I used to do it a lot, then I didn't have to come to the meetings. And it's not ever been on there. Since you become mayor, it's not there, it doesn't appear. It's shut down.
So the meetings were on there prior to me being elected, is that what you're saying?
Under Terry Fouch, it was always on podcast.
Who handles that?
And it was on YouTube.
That would be, and the situation you've got there is, when I became chief, we had some technical problems as far as uploading stuff to YouTube, and I haven't been able to resolve those yet. It wasn't, Terry Ralph was still the mayor when we stopped because of the technical difficulties. For some reason, YouTube won't accept it now, which is where it wasn't a podcast, it was uploaded to YouTube.
It was on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, it's called a podcast on your webpage. It's called a podcast. And you could go to the podcast and then click on the, YouTube and look at the meetings, the business meetings and these meetings. They were always on there. And that kept people informed. There are things, this is something that we don't understand. The Action Committee doesn't understand. Why don't you put the budget online like other cities do? Why isn't Algood's budget online so we can look? When we look in Algood's website, we need to look at their budget and see what you're spending money for.
You talking
And I
about-
think it was explained to me at the last time I spoke by your attorney that if you're out of budget, doesn't matter, you can just adjust it. But we find out that you have to have 2 public meetings to adjust the budget. You can't just adjust it. You have to have 2 public meetings to be able to do that. I mean, if you could do that, you could just spend all the money you wanted to, all the money you had in the bank. You have to tell people what's going on. It's their money. It's citizens' money.
Are you talking about a monthly financial, or are you talking about like an approved budget that's spent?
Approved budget and how it's spent. It needs to be, it should be here. It should be here so people can look for it and see it and find it and find out how money's been spent. We found out last month that $69,000 has been spent to date on attorney fees that were not approved to be paid by MTAX. $69,000. I don't know how that helps the citizens of Algood. I have no earthly idea how that's helping Algood.
Okay.
That's what the money is collected for taxes for, is supposed to help the citizens of Algood.
Yes, ma'am.
But those are some things, I'd like to have an answer about whether or not you need to keep meeting, minutes
Okay.
at the meeting. I know Miss West used to keep minutes. She used to keep minutes
Okay.
at the meetings, but this group does.
We'll check into that, ma'am. Any other comments or concerns? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Who's second?